Oh, yeah. Frisco. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, 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 way down in the back.
Welcome to the Tigers Avenue Show. TA, we are live. Thursday edition of the Tigers Avenue Show. Lots of baseball to talk about, Zach. Lots of baseball to talk about.
Yeah, a lot.
We could have done it. Well, not could have. If we could have done a show on Monday, we would have recapped the Frisco for you. We'll give you our thoughts on Frisco a little bit and what has transpired this week with North Dakota State. Obviously, we'll give you all those thoughts and what we watched and how it all transpired. There's been some good. There's been some bad. I think there's a lot to learn from. So plenty to discuss, man, in terms of pitching, in terms of defense, in terms of your lineup. Like you, as Zach, as we were talking about before the show started, it feels like you're figuring out your lineup, your formula, like what's going to work, what's not going to work. Maybe not like a set 9 guys, but at least, guys who are going to be key contributors, and some spots are kind of being solidified. So we'll talk about all those things, Frisco, lineup, all those things. I'm going to give you a little bit of a weekend preview as well. North Alabama. Zach, I actually have a little bit of I don't know what to say, what the word is I'm looking for, but I'm kind of looking forward to watching North Alabama a little bit because kind of got close with a particular player this year with Itawamba, who just signed to play football and baseball at North Alabama. He'll be playing quarterback and playing catcher for the North Alabama Lions next season.
There you go.
Not this season, but next. He'll graduate this year and move on there. But excited for him, and so I'm excited to watch North Alabama and see what kind of program they've got. I hear it's a great program, but I want to see how well they play. I'm pretty excited about that. So we'll give you a little snippet on North Alabama, and we got to talk about the SEC women's tourney as well. Obviously, LSU got the bye. Currently, they're waiting to figure out their opponent. They're actually playing right now. LSU.
Let's get an update on that.
Yeah, maybe you pull up a score update real quick, and we'll kind of keep up with that throughout the show.
Florida's winning right now, 20-15.
There you go. Florida is up on Alabama, 20-15. Personally, I really would like to play Alabama because I want some revenge.
Yeah, I do want the revenge, but if you're just like a matchup perspective, you want Florida. But for the revenge aspect, yeah, you want to play Bama.
I want to beat Florida. Alabama so bad though. Anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit. Little bit of a disappointing end to LSU's regular season.
Yeah,
doesn't change really much. Though, because the Tigers have done some really heavy lifting throughout the majority of conference play. And so the last 2 losses, did they stink? Yes, you lost on Senior Sunday too. But in terms of your positioning really in the tournament, it didn't change a whole lot. So disappointing, but not horrible, not the end of the world. Zach, so before we dive in to all of our topics tonight, before we really hone in on these things, there's one other thing we need to discuss briefly. We talked about this on the last show in our Lang Yap segment. LSU's Bo Davis, defensive line coach, is now going to be the defensive line coach at the New Orleans Saints. That stinks. But, however, LSU has now officially, it's not only just reported, it's official that he's signed the paperwork. Former LSU national champion, 2003 national champion defensive lineman Kyle Williams will be making his way to LSU staff from the high school ranks, from Ruston High School, to coach LSU's defensive line.
It's not Al Davis.
It is not Al Davis. It is not. It is Kyle Williams. There were some reports out there that it was going to be Al Davis, but it is not Al Davis. Anyways, not going to get all of that, but you gotta be careful. Got to be careful sometimes. Zach and I are not in the news breaking business.
We don't want to be, honestly. Just don't want to be.
I don't either. Don't either. We'll just tell you what we hear. That's what we like to do. We like to,
and then we'll give our opinion on it.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
We're an opinion podcast. You can call us that.
We are very much an opinionated podcast.
There you go. There you go.
That covers all of LSU sports. So if you enjoy that,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. This is a very fan focused, I guess you could say.
Yeah, fan focused. We're here for the fans. We're here to hang out and chat, and we'd love for y'all to throw your comments in there.
Please
we want to chat with y'all. So if you're viewing, go ahead, throw a comment in there. If you're on X, head on over to Facebook or YouTube, and throw a comment in there. We'd
Please.
love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate all the interaction we get. But Zach, it's Kyle Williams. Some may look at this and, they can give their thoughts on why maybe it's a disappointment that you didn't go and get a college guy, that you didn't get, you didn't get Chapman from Florida or Joyner from Ole Miss or Davis from Missouri or any of those guys. And I honestly think that's a valid point to some degree. However, you have seen Brian Kelly make some pretty big changes in his staff since he's arrived at LSU. And the more and more he's been here, the more and more you've seen this trend that what he brought from Notre Dame, his mindset is really, I think, beginning to change to a very Louisiana-focused type staff. There's got to be connections and ties, and you look across the staff, and that you have that everywhere. You just really do through Blake Baker and his ties in Louisiana, and Corey Raymond, and Frank Wilson, Cortez Hankton. It's loaded. Brad Davis. It's loaded with Louisiana, and you had that with Bo too, who played at LSU. Been around the state, and coached at LSU and recruited at LSU already before this last year as well. This feels like a hire that Brian Kelly, like, this fits the mold, right? He's a former LSU player. He's been now in the Louisiana circles as a high school coach. Coached Ahmad Bro. He was Ahmad Bro's defensive coordinator at Ruston. So you got to know that guy, that he loves that hire. You got to love, you got to love that for Ahmad Bro. He's probably super thrilled about this. I think there's great. I think when you talk about Kyle Williams, you're talking about a guy who's going to, I think, relate to players very well, who's going to represent LSU. I mean, through and through. He won a national championship at LSU. He's bleeding purple and gold. Had a great career in the NFL. Seems like a very energetic, motivating type of guy. And he's a guy, like I just said, who's been coaching now in Louisiana high school. So the recruiting aspect's going to be there in terms of getting your Louisiana guys. And that's going to be really, really important, Zach, this year, because there's a lot of you Louisiana guys that you really want to land in this class. namely the number 2 ranked defensive lineman in the country, Rich Anderson, who's already committed to LSU. So, Zach, personally, it may have not been a flashy hire. I like the hire, though. I like the hire.
Well, you got to think ranking 2, he's going to be surrounded by some guys that are very experienced, right?
Yeah.
You know, you've got Kevin Peoples that's going to be working alongside him. Obviously, Blake Baker, what we think of him. And, I mean, obviously, Brian Kelly as well, you know. So he's got the tools around him and the expert help that he can, you know, use to his advantage as he comes here. And another thing, Reagan, is, you know, as you mentioned, you know, former LSU player, won a national championship. You don't think he's going to give his 110% for this school, the school he went to, the school he won a national championship for?
Sure he will.
So he's going to recruit his tail off, right?
Yep.
He is going to be a workhorse because of who he is and his career. So there is pros. Like, yes, it's not a flashy hire, as you mentioned. Yes, there's question marks to be answered. You know,
Definitely.
how will he do in recruiting? You know, how successful will he be as a head coach, or not? Excuse me, not a head coach, as an on-field coach with a, you know, Power 4 program in the SEC. I mean, it's a
big jump.
It's a big jump from being a high school defensive coordinator. Big jump. So there's a lot of questions to be answered, but you got to know that he's going to give 110% in everything he does there. And also that he's going to be surrounded by a lot of experienced coaches that are going to be able to help him through.
No doubt. So I like, you know, even Ryan's point there. You know, he said reserve the right to wait until the end of the season to judge, and I think that's smart. I like it for the sake that he was an LSU Tiger. I'm always obviously I love our Tigers.
We all want Tyrann Mathieu to come back and work with the DBs, right?
Gosh,
I mean,
yes. Everybody wants that.
This is a similar situation.
Yes,
right?
it is. And
not to the caliber of Tyrann Mathieu, but I mean, very similar situation.
But you're right, Ryan. It's, we'll see. I think there are good aspects to it, but as you're saying, there's certainly some. Is it going to translate from high school to LSU? It's a big step. Won't be any soft player. There's no doubt about that. Brother is hard-nosed type player. He came from a great era, played under Nick Saban. He played in that era where defensive linemen at LSU were scary, and people feared the defensive line at LSU.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can instill that fear again. With that being said, we're already 15 minutes in, and that wasn't even one of our segments, so we're going to dive in quickly. Baseball recap. Zach, I guess we can start with Frisco. I mean, obviously, biggest test of the year in terms of your weekend series. Dallas coming off the Dallas Baptist game, which Dallas Baptist arguably your best win of the season. Maybe Nebraska is a better win because Nebraska's pitching staff is really, really good. And then, of course, you also had the great comeback. The Nebraska game, no doubt, has been the most exciting game this year by far. Postseason atmosphere, 11,000 fans, good showing from both crowds, Nebraska and LSU. Tense game, close game. It was great. But Zach, it started with Kansas State. You jumped out to an early lead against Kansas State, a slim lead that was quickly evened with back-to-back homers.
Yeah.
From Kennedy and Dardar, who 2 weekends in a row went back-to-back.
Yeah, they were really good.
And then it was really close right till the end there. And it was 5-5.
They had to go to extras.
And, Zach, this is where the defense began to shine, okay? As we were talking about, Zach, Chris Stanfield, Jake Brown, Curiel have made some fantastic plays out in the outfield. They have. But, man, this is where the entirety of your defense started to turn it on in this Kansas State game. And since this Kansas State game, your defense has shown how elite they really can be. especially your middle infielders, Stephen Milam and Danny Dickinson. They are phenomenal. They are absolutely phenomenal. They've been like Gold Glove good. Yeah. Zach, in the bottom of the ninth, they have Kennedy on again. Kennedy is on first base. Dardar hits a double. What was a double. Josh Pearson, Zach, the veteran who just seems to always make plays. He always seems to be the one who makes a play when it's like everything's on the line. It seems to be Josh Pearson. You think we talked about this, towards the beginning of the season when he made that great play in the College World Series. And had he not made that play in the College World Series, we do not have that championship.
Mm-hmm.
Florida likely goes on to win that game and would beat us the second game and sweep us 2-0 again.
Yeah.
In a championship series. He did not catch the ball. However, he hustled and made an effort play to cut the ball off from getting back to the wall. If you watch it, he literally snags it like it's going away from him, and he snags it and keeps it from getting even further away from him. Yeah. Turns, hits Stephen Milam on the cutoff. Kennedy is rounding third. Milam throws a laser to Luis Hernandez, and Kennedy is thrown out at the plate. It was an absolutely phenomenal play. Phenomenal. That gets you the second out of the game. You've still got a runner in scoring position, and you got to put the game away. Because if they get a base hit, he can score and the game's over, and the whole play didn't matter. Well, like the very next pitch, the batter hits a hard shot, which looks like it's going to be a base hit. Danny Dickinson dives out, stealing the hit, standing up, making the throw to first, and ending the inning. Back-to-back elite, game-saving defensive plays, flashing the leather was Danny Dickinson there. And, Zach, that was impressive.
Yeah.
That was so impressive. And you use that motivation, Zach. You use that motivation to get you into the 10th inning with all the momentum. You scored 3 runs there in the 10th, and you shut the door in the bottom of the 10th to get the first victory there in Frisco. Again, another hard-fought game, one that you look at and you think it's going to develop the character of this team. That game, for it to be that close to losing it.
Yeah.
Snatching it, right? Literally, the winning run is heading home, and you get the out. And then, obviously, the play following that, and then you followed up with 3 runs in the top of the 10th to seal the deal. It was awesome. Kate Anderson had another good outing. Obviously, the only thing that was a problem was, he gave it the back-to-back jacks, 3 walks, but really, it wasn't a bad outing. He gave you 5 1/3. He had 10 strikeouts, only 3 hits on the game for him. Maverick Rizzi came in and struggled a little bit, and that's the one where you got the lead after they tied it. You responded with 3 runs, and it felt like, okay, we're going to command this game. Well, turn around, Maverick Rizzi comes in. He struggles with command. He gives up a couple walks. Bases are loaded. Nobody out. DJ Primo comes in and hits 2 batters back-to-back and scores 2 runs, makes it 5-4. Connor Benj comes in and finally stops the bleeding. He gets you some outs. But in lieu of the outs, there was a sacrifice, and it tied the game. And that's how it became 5-5. What's up, dude? It's bedtime for Zeke, man. Say night-night.
Night-night.
Say go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Love you, buddy.
Go Tigers.
Have good sleep, okay? I'll see you in the morning. Love you, buddy. So Connor Binge, he comes in, stops the bleeding, gets you outs, but obviously they produce some runs with those outs, a couple sacrifice. But Zach, there's no question. There is no question in my mind. Kason Evans, he doesn't look like a freshman. Like physically, when you look at him, he looks like he's 27 years old. And he's a freshman in college.
He's younger than me.
He does not care.
I like 10 years.
Younger than me. Exactly. He carries himself with maturity. He is electric on the mound. He doesn't pitch like a college freshman. He has great command, and he is going to be an absolute star for the LSU Tigers for the next few years. He's a star for LSU right now. He's your closer without a doubt. He is your closer, period. He comes in, 2 innings, shutout baseball, 3 strikeouts to close the game out. When you give him the ball, you just trust that it's going to be done. And so far it has been. There hasn't been any falter yet. Okay, he has walked a couple batters, not a lot. He's walked a couple batters, but not a lot. He's never gotten himself in trouble. The command that he has of his pitches is phenomenal. He comes in, he pumps strikes, he draws contact, and a lot of times they can't catch up, and there's no contact, and he strikes them out. He is phenomenal, Zach.
Yeah,
and he's the one who came in and shut the door for the Kansas State game. So that was the first game, Zach. With that being said, I'll let you kind of lead off with the Nebraska game. By far the most exciting game of the week, Zach.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean,
it
was a really good game. Obviously, it was very well attended. I think it set a record as far as baseball games goes. The record that was set in that stadium was, dude, perfect. I mean, I don't know if you're going to beat that with the baseball game. But anyways, with a baseball game, the record attendance for a baseball game there at Frisco, over 11,000. Man, Nebraska just really jumped on LSU early. I mean, they scored 3 runs in the very first inning, and Ianson was wobbly, but you have to credit Ianson. He really started to settle down once he got past the 4th inning. He was able to settle down, and then really was able to command his fastball. He was really good with the breaking ball. But he was able to have a lot better command there in the latter innings, and LSU's defense was able to get LSU going. JP was really good in this game. He got things going offensively.
Phenomenal in this game.
Really good, right? What did he go? 4 for 5? 4 for 6?
Yes, 4 for 5, but he got on base 5 times because he was also walked in the later innings.
Yeah.
He had 3 doubles.
3 doubles.
3
doubles and a single. Josh Pearson led the way, but your defense was really good too. You think about there in the 5th inning, I think it was the 5th inning, you had the diving catch by Stanfield, and then you go to the top of the 6th, right? I think it was, and it was either top of the 6th or the top of the 7th, somewhere in there. And there is a ball that's hit up the middle. It goes over the top of Ianson. He jumps, tries to snag it, can't get it. It's too high. Dickinson ranges behind second base, snags it, flips it to Milam, and Milam throws a dart over to Jared Jones to get the out.
From the glove.
Yeah.
Flips it from the glove.
Flips it from the glove. Yeah.
And Milam barehanded it.
Yeah.
Guys, Zach, that was a major league play.
Yep.
Major league.
Yeah. It was really impressive by LSU's defense, and as Ant really settled in. In the fifth, he struck out the side. The defense was phenomenal.
Yes.
You obviously had there in the sixth inning your Sports Center top 10 play, which by the way shoddy camera work, by the way, because we couldn't see the whole thing. You had to clip it play by play.
Hey, ESPN, TikTok, they got it covered. If you want to go see the full replay, ESPN's TikTok got the full play. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic.
LSU was able to get things going there in the seventh inning. We're able to tie it up there in the seventh inning. Jake Brown, Monster Milam making really clutch hits, having really good ABs. Obviously, Josh Pearson got things. That was another inning where Josh Pearson got going as well. So, man, it was just really. And then you had guys like Stanfield, right? This team has just been really, really good with 2 outs. Chris Stanfield gets a single to score to have an RBI there in the seventh inning and take a 2-run lead over Nebraska. So, man, it was just really cool. It was really cool for this team to be able to be in that environment. Nebraska also had some just rough defense in that inning as well that was able to allow LSU to score some more there. So, really, really, really impressive for this offense and defense to kind of coexist together in those middle innings and to be able to overcome that 5-run deficit and to end up winning 10-6, or 11-6 the final. So, yeah, Reagan, I mean, that game had a lot. Had some bad, had some good. You look at, obviously, the first half of the game, you had some bad. Ianson struggled. The offense took a little bit to get going, but then when it matters the most, Reagan, the middle innings is when baseball games matter the most, right? 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Innings 4, 5, and 6, in my opinion, are the most crucial part of a game. Now, you could argue that the 6th and the 7th, or the 7th, 8th, and 9th, that they're obviously near the end of the game, there's extremely crucial moments. But 4, 5, and 6 are really crucial in a game because it sets up for the ending, right? It sets up for the latter half innings where you know what you have to do. So LSU gets down early, but in the innings 4, 5, and 6, they're able to mount the comeback. Ianson settles down. LSU's offense gets going. And from there on out, it was smooth sailing, right? LSU really dominated the rest of the game. Once they took the lead, they never looked back. And they're able to win game 2 in a really, really awesome atmosphere there in Frisco. And then by that point, it was over. LSU had become the Frisco Classic champions. All that mattered was what was going to happen on Sunday. How would LSU fare against Sam Houston State? And, man, they started fast, very fast there against Sam Houston State. They scored, what was it, Reagan? 7 runs? 7 runs in the second inning?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
7
2
runs
more,
in the second inning.
Quick.
Or
9-2 pretty quickly.
Yeah. Monster Milam hits a home run. Ethan Fry hits a home run. So LSU was able to get the long ball going in that game. Obviously it got really close, kind of not really close, but it got closer there at the end. Yeah. LSU, got up big. Then you had to settle for the back end of your bullpen. Guys that let's be honest, once you get to SEC play, that you probably don't see as much. So, you're having to throw guys that are at the back end of your bullpen because of how many times you had played that week. I mean, again, that was your 5th game of the week, right? Of last week. So you run out of arms. Obviously, it sucks to see that the bullpen struggled a lot. There's a lot of free passes that were given, but you're dealing with guys at the back in the bullpen. You kind of have to expect that, especially in Sunday games. You're going to see that on Sundays. There's going to be a lot of offense on Sunday. That's just typical. I mean, that's just typical, college baseball. You're going to see a lot of offense on Sunday. So a little disappointing that, they were kind of letting off the gas a little bit there against Sam Houston State, but they did what they had to do, dominated the game in the first few innings, and LSU was able to sweep. They go 5-0, and because of how bad Texas A&M has been here early on in the season, LSU claims the number 1 spot in the country as they headed into this week.
According to D1 Baseball.
Yeah.
Some other polls don't have us number 1. That's okay, though.
Yeah, but I trust D1 Baseball over all the other ones.
D1 Baseball is the site that's typically used more than any other one. But it was a great weekend, Zach. It really was. You had adversity. You had deficits that you had to overcome. You had phenomenal defensive plays. You had amazing offensive performances. It had everything. It was fantastic. It was a great weekend. It was a weekend that LSU needed for the challenge of SEC. That's ahead of them.
Yeah.
Highlight of the week, Dickinson and Milam combination play. Oh,
yeah.
My, wow, hallelujah. Amen. I agree, Dad. I agree. We were just talking about that play. By far the highlight of the weekend.
Yeah, the highlight of the week. The good question, though, here by Ryan. Obviously, we'll talk about the North Dakota State games. Those were midweek games. But following the weekend, Reagan, and seeing the 3 pitchers, I kind of feel pretty confident saying that feels like Cade Anderson is pretty much a lock to continue to be your Friday night guy. I don't think he has really shown anything to, concern you enough to want to make a move. Now, Ianson, the last 2 times out, it's been not bad, but not great, right? Obviously, gave up the 5 runs this past weekend.
The beginning of Nebraska was bad.
It was,
but he straightened out.
Right? But by the end of his outing, a so-so performance and really ended on a high note with how, and that's what you need. Like when guys get roughed up, you need them to be able to turn the page, go to the next inning and dominate. And that's what Ianson was able to do. But he brings up a good question, Reagan. Do you switch Ianson and Shores? I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I think down the line, it could be something that is very possible. And I've mentioned that before, that potentially down the line, I think you do see Shores move up in the rotation. How soon does that happen, though? I don't know.
Well, here's my opinion, Zach. Here's my opinion. I'm not mad if you make the switch. I'm not mad if you make the switch. However, if you're gonna make the switch, to me, you make it this weekend.
Yeah,
because you're starting SEC play the next weekend. It's Missouri, so certainly a winnable, sweepable series. You're playing Missouri at home, and so to me, it's if you're going to make the switch, you do it this weekend before you start conference play.
Here's a counter to Ryan's question, Reagan. Okay, if you got Anderson on Friday and you're really confident that you're going to win a lot of games on Friday with Anderson, and you move Shores up, but you lose game 2.
That's right.
Then you're going to have, if you're just looking at it from this standpoint, right? I'm looking at it from Ryan's standpoint, right? Obviously, Ryan is asking the question because he, I don't know, Ryan, you may can clarify, but obviously Ryan is asking the question because he feels like Shores has been a little bit more consistent. Obviously, the talent, the he throws faster. I mean, obviously the ceiling is higher, right? For Shores. So he's making that statement thinking, okay, well, Shores is the better pitcher. Do you move them up? Here's the thing, though, Reagan. Who do you want in a rubber match?
That's my point as well.
Who do you want in a rubber
match? I would prefer Shores.
Because let's say you win on Friday with Anderson, Ianson struggles on Saturday, and you lose and you go to a rubber match. What would you rather have? Would you rather have Shores or Ianson? Would you rather lose on Saturday with Shores and have Ianson to pitch the rubber match? Or would you rather lose on Saturday with Ianson and have Shores pitch the rubber match? And I think we all know that answer.
Yeah, I'm again. That's why I said I won't be mad if you make the switch, but make it now. However, I'm fine with it the way it is because I like Shores on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's a big plus for LSU. Ianson is good enough to win you ball games on Saturday.
Yeah.
But it's also really nice that if you drop a game to have Shores as the rubber match guy.
Yeah.
So for me, personally, I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it. You've been rolling with it. It's not been horrible by any stretch of the imagination. You like having Shores on Sunday. I'm good with it. Zach, bullpen wise, Tyler even mentioned him. Zach Cowan. I wanted to talk.
Zach Cowan's been really good. He's
very
been really
solid,
good.
very solid. Guys you trust. Connor Binge. I'm trying to think of guys that you just trust to come and get outs. Cowan's one of those guys. Binge is one of those guys right now. I really, really, really liked what I saw from Chandler Dorsey in the game against North Dakota State. His debut, in the middle of a game that was just horrendous, a horrendous game, Zach. A guy comes in on his debut and kind of settles things with 2 innings. I was pleased with his performance. William Schmidt, dude, he is destined. William Schmidt is destined to be a Friday night starter in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
William Schmidt
probably
is
will
going to
be
be a starter.
Probably will be.
No question.
Maybe next year.
No question. But he's going to be like Cowan and Binge and Schmidt and Rizzi. These are going to be, which Rizzi has been struggling here of late. What we know he can be. And of course, Evans, those are guys you're really, really going to count on in certain games. And just, I like what I've seen from those guys. Some of the other guys, you got to get the walks in check. There's been way too many walks for my liking over the Frisco weekend with this, with the first game against North Dakota State. It was just abysmal. The walks, we got to get it in wraps. Here's the deal. It doesn't matter your opponent. Ball strikes, it doesn't matter the opponent, right? So early in the season against Purdue Fort Wayne, we saw them pump the strike zone. So we know they can do it.
Yeah.
Right? Regardless of who's at the plate, you can put the ball over the plate. We got to be putting the ball over the plate more. We got to be doing it like we were at the beginning of the season because last 5 games, just not only the walks, but hit by pitches, and the errors with the pass balls, not defensive errors, but the pass balls, like where it started with North Dakota State was you got the first guy out, the second guy struck out, the ball got past him. Again, stupidest rule in all of college baseball. Ball got past Aaron Beatty, guy gets first base, and it went all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Right. Those kind of errors. The free passes have got to stop. It's been unacceptable as of late. So, anyways. But, Zach, North Dakota State, you had a pretty rough, worst game you've played all season.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely worse.
It was worse than the game you lost.
Yes, it was worse than the game you lost, for sure.
By far.
I agree. That shows you how bad that team was.
The game you lost, you had an opportunity to win it, and it was a much cleaner game. Your offense just wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
Your offense just wasn't.
And your pitching was really good throughout the entire game, except for 1 inning.
Exactly. This game was a big pile of doo-doo for a while.
Defense, pitching, catching.
Thank goodness you have a really solid offense and you beat a team that you should have beaten. You should have come back in this game and you should have won this game. Yeah. Don't celebrate a major comeback in this game. It's what you should have done.
It was 7-1, Reagan, and I still was thinking
we're probably gonna win this game.
We got the horses to win this game. We still got the horses to win this game. So
no doubt. And they did. And then of course you flip the page to the next day. And by the way, Connor Ware, I think, is going to pitch some very important innings for LSU as well. I think he just had a rough outing. That feels like it'll be the outlier. William Schmidt comes in, Zach, in 4 innings, strikes out 7, only allowing 2 hits, only 1 run. He's phenomenal. So excited about the ceiling of William Schmidt. Dalton Beck finally got some more run, and he looked solid. Looked solid. 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. Jacob Myers, his problem before he came to LSU was walking people, and he walked more people last night. 3 walks.
Still an issue.
In 1 inning. It is what it is. Grant Fontenot came in, struggled a little bit in the 9th inning. Thankfully, though, it was 13-1, so you didn't really have to worry about it too much. But again, you got to, when you come out of the bullpen, you got to get guys out. You can't come in and walk people.
You got to throw strikes.
You got to throw strikes. Whether they're hitting it or not, you got to come in and pump strikes. That's your job. You can't come in and start walking people and all that. So that's certainly got to be corrected. LSU sweeps their 2-game little mini series with North Dakota State. And Zach, we're 43 minutes in. North Alabama is ahead for this weekend.
Yeah, Reagan. Obviously, you mentioned all the issues that LSU had, not only throughout the Frisco Classic, but especially they really came to a head in that first game against North Dakota State. I think by far, Reagan, obviously the free passes are a huge issue for this bullpen. But it's really happening for the most part, it's happening with pitchers that you're probably not going to see a whole lot of in SEC play. Now, some of that has been some of the guys you are going to rely on. I mean, obviously, Ianson had a rough go on Saturday,
but his wasn't free passes as much. His was he was leaving pitches up and they were hitting.
Shores, he struggled a little bit, but he was effective enough. So the biggest issue by far for LSU is at catcher, for sure. The amount of pass balls that have happened this season are inexcusable. And that's why when you get to SEC play, you're going to see one pitcher. Or excuse me, you're going to see one catcher. You're going to see one catcher. Luis Hernandez is going to be your everyday catcher, every SEC weekend catcher.
Yeah.
Once they get to conference play. Aaron Beatty has very much struggled. He's a freshman. He's young. He's got a lot of growing to do. Very talented. I mean, you saw even with as much as he struggled on Tuesday night, you saw the home run ball. You saw the power from him. Was able to kind of make up. But Reagan, I mean, we were counting. I mean, there had to have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 4 runs. 2 to 4 runs that LSU gave up to North Dakota State on Tuesday night because of the inability to block the baseball.
Yeah.
He has really struggled. I don't want to hate on the guy, but he has just really struggled to block the breaking ball. I mean, he just had, and even at times he's struggled to, do really well at framing. Even the fastball. I mean, it's been very difficult for him so far to start the season. I mean, obviously a guy that is uber talented, you expect a high ceiling. Yeah. But Luis Hernandez is going to have to be your catcher. He's the best defensively behind the plate. You're going to see him be your everyday guy once LSU gets to Missouri. I'm sure Aaron Beatty will get some work in the midweek throughout the season continued. Yeah. So, anyways, that's by far the most concerning. Luis Hernandez, yes, he has struggled some too, but it hasn't been to the extent that you've seen with Aaron Beatty. I mean, we were at the point where it was like every inning, almost every batter, Reagan, a ball was going to the backstop. So some of that is the pitching. Just a really difficult pitch that gets away. Wild pitch, but a lot of it has been on the receiving end. So LSU's got to get better at that. I think they will once they get to conference play, and then you see Luis Hernandez really take all of the reps there.
Yeah.
So I know LSU fans are concerned about it, frustrated about it. I am as well. But I think it's an issue that can get corrected with the right personnel once LSU gets further along in the season.
Yeah.
And the same can be said about the free passes. Once you get into conference play, you're going to see that bullpen really shorten down.
Yeah.
And, I think you're going to see less and less free passes because of who is pitching.
Sure.
And less issues with pass balls because of who is catching. So that's just my take on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think. I mean, Aaron Beatty, you go from high school ball to SEC pitching. Catcher's not used to seeing breaking balls that Aaron Beatty is seeding right now, right? Like he wasn't catching that. He wasn't having to block balls like that in high school at all. Normally, he's probably receiving about, low to mid 80, maybe close to 90 every now and then. Fastballs mostly. And the breaking ball is there, but not near what it is in college baseball. So it's hard I think it's an adjustment for him. And he's a freshman, and he was so highly ranked for a reason. He'll grow. He'll get better. He needs those reps. I'd rather him make the mistakes in a game against North Dakota State than in a game against an SEC opponent. Luiso Hernandez will be the one in those games. He needs reps. So give him reps against teams that he can get reps against.
Do you look at Blaze Priester at all during the midweeks? I mean, can it really hurt?
I don't know. I don't know. He's kind of gotten pushed back there. You saw him for one inning last night, maybe. Anyways, Zach, quickly on North Alabama. I'll give a little rundown, and then we'll hit a break. We'll move into the SEC women's tournament, and then maybe get an update on the game as well. Zach, for me, you're going to overwhelm. You're way overly talented compared to the North Alabama team. The matchup of the weekend, again, is Saturday, Ianson versus Tripp Patterson. Tripp has a 1.9 or 3.7, ERA on the season. 19 and 2/3 innings pitched. It's the most of any of the starter pitchers for North Alabama. Not only does he have the most inning pitch, he has the lowest ERA, and he has the most strikeout. Saturday is going to be the matchup of the weekend with Ianson and him. Look, North Alabama is 3-8 on the season. They're batting .211 as a team. You're a much better team. You're a much better team than them. Now, they have played two SEC teams. They lost to Auburn 6-2. They played Tennessee and played them close, Zach. Tennessee only beat them 7-5. So certainly can't be sleeping past North Alabama, but you're a better team. You're going to win this series. If you drop one, I don't think it will be the end of it's not going to be the end of the world. I also wouldn't be surprised if you dropped one either. Maybe that Saturday game. But if I had to make a prediction, I would predict that LSU is probably going to sweep this weekend and move towards conference play with one loss. But Zach, you have a pretty good opponent coming in for your midweek game, Xavier, before Missouri comes into town next weekend. So
yeah,
that's just a little bit on North Alabama. With that being said, Zach, 51 minutes in, we need to hit our break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the SEC women's tournament right after this. 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Right back at it here in the Tigers Avenue show. Final segment here, SEC women's tournament. Zach, do we have any comments we need to get to before we dive in?
Yeah, let's check it out. I just don't understand why we didn't find a better catcher in our recruiting, but we are loaded everywhere else. Well, I mean, Aaron Beatty, was he the number one catcher in the country?
Yeah, he was very highly rated. Again, he's a freshman.
Yeah.
He's making the adjustment. Biggest jump you're ever going to make in sports is from high school to Division I. It's the biggest jump. And he's feeling that jump right now. I think that's really what it is. He's a great recruit. He was a very highly recruited player. Just freshman woes. But you also pulled from the transfer portal a very veteran catcher in Luis Hernandez, who's going to be a little bit more stable.
Yeah. And that's why you did that. Todd Town said there's really 6 guys that can start SEC games. Schmidt is definitely one of those 6. Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
Ryan said if the ball is down the dirt, it shouldn't get past you as a catcher. I still loathe the one knee catching stance. Yeah, that's been a conversation topic for sure here recently.
A bit lazy. It is a bit lazy.
Amongst LSU media and podcasts because of it just makes it more difficult. But that's where the game's at right now is the one knee stance. So, anyways, Reagan, LSU women's will be playing tomorrow night at 7:30 against either Florida or Alabama.
Whew. It's a close game.
It's going to be obviously the third round of the SEC tournament.
Yep.
We're on the second round tonight. Alabama and Florida currently playing. Florida is leading by 2 right now, late in the third quarter, 42-40. So it's obviously a really close, tightly contested ball game. Florida beat Auburn in the first round and was able to advance. Some other games that happened. A&M got ousted by Tennessee in the first round. Georgia ousted Arkansas in the first round in a really close game. State ousted Missouri in the first round. Vanderbilt upset Tennessee to get a win. Vanderbilt's been really good this year in SC women's basketball. Oklahoma was able to win over Georgia. Ole Miss beat State. So, I'm kind of with you, Reagan. I kind of want to see Bama win so that LSU can get a rematch.
Yes.
They're in the quarterfinals. I also would really like to see Ole Miss beat Texas. I know that's going to be really hard to do, obviously because
please do.
It's Texas. They're really the number one team. I know South Carolina got the 1 seed because of the coin flip. Whatever, that's stupid. Texas is the number 1 team in the country. So it's going to be really difficult for Ole Miss to win that game tomorrow. But that game starts at 5 p.m. So maybe a game you want to be interested in if LSU is able to win tomorrow night to see who you could potentially face on Saturday. So LSU will play tomorrow again at 7:30. The disappointing part is just the way the season ended, Reagan. Lost a really, really close ball game on the road against Alabama. Was able to fight back in that game, and you really thought that you were going to win that game when Nye and Sarah Barker both fouled out late in the ball game.
Yeah,
you tied it up and went to overtime, and both those players were out. Sarah Ashley Barker got put out, in the overtime, but LSU just wasn't able to have enough offense to be able to win that game, so they lose on the road against a really good team, right? I mean, Alabama's a really good team.
Yeah,
the SEC, both SEC men's and women's basketball they're loaded. They're really deep. Obviously we've talked about that with the men's. The women is really the same. Absolutely loaded. You've got teams like Arkansas and Auburn and Missouri and Texas A&M that have really struggled, but for the most part, everybody else in the SEC women's basketball is really good. They're good teams. They're really good teams. So LSU is definitely going to have a really difficult game tomorrow night. You like that it's not a true road game, right? Because LSU has struggled against really good teams on the road this year. Obviously, their only losses come against ranked teams on the road. Good
resume.
Until LSU played Ole Miss on senior Sunday, this past Sunday, and they they controlled a large part of that ball game, and then in the
Really
third
blew whistle.
quarter, gave it away, gave the lead away, and in the fourth quarter, you just got beat. You just got beat. Now, with that said, you had no Flau'jae Johnson, who is a huge integral part of your team. So I understand it was disappointing that you lost to Ole Miss on Senior Sunday, but you didn't have your best. Like, you could argue that Flau'jae is your best player. You really could. I mean, I don't know if you can just pick one out of three that you're like, that's our best. Probably say Anissa Mora, which, by the way, got absolutely robbed of SEC Player of the Year. They gave it to Madison Booker from Texas. I get it. She's the best player on the number one team in the country. But go look at the stats. It's not close.
It's not.
It's not close. Anissa Morrow averages a double-double.
Yeah.
She does. She averages a double-double. Madison Booker averages, I think 13 points a game and 6 rebounds a game.
Come on.
Anissa Morrow robbed of SEC
Come on, guys.
Women's Basketball Player of the Year. So that was really, really disappointing to see. I get it. You gave it to the number one team in the country. You gave it to the best player on the best team in the country, but
that's not what it is.
Yeah,
that's not what the award is supposed to be.
That's not what the award's supposed to be.
You gotta give the award to what it's supposed to be, and that's not what it is. It's the same. Okay, it's not to this scale, but you talk about Jaden Daniels Heisman. Jaden Daniels was clearly the best player in college football that year.
No question.
There's a lot of people that are like, well, you've got 3 losses, and LSU's defense was horrible, and that's the reason you had 3 losses, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't take away from what Jaden Daniels is doing and how phenomenal it is, right? Yeah. It's the same thing. Same thing.
Yep. So if LSU wins tomorrow night at 7:30, they will play on Saturday at 6 p.m. against either Ole Miss or Texas. And then you win that game, you're in the championship, SEC championship game on Sunday at 2 p.m. LSU has been to the SEC championship. The last 2 times they've been to the SEC championship, they fell to South Carolina. So if LSU can win tomorrow night, they're going to have a really difficult – because, I would imagine you're most likely going to see Texas in the semis if you win tomorrow night, right? That's obviously if you win tomorrow night. You got to get past Florida or Alabama first, which, by the way, right now Florida is pulling away a little bit. So we'll see. Still got a whole nother quarter of basketball left, but Florida has now separated themselves a little bit from Alabama. So we'll see how the rest of that game goes. Reagan, you're going to get Flau'jae Johnson back.
Yeah.
You've obviously gotten a really well rested week. Typically they're getting an extra day of rest, really.
Yeah.
So your team should be healthy and ready to go. And just Kim Mulkey's so good in the postseason, Reagan. She's just so good in the postseason.
Find that little
she gets their teams to play with some extra juice.
Yeah.
So I expect LSU to play really well. I'm not saying they're going to go win the SEC championship, but I expect LSU to play really well. They could very easily lose tomorrow. That's 2 really good teams that you're going to be playing. But even if you lose tomorrow, Reagan, I don't really know if it really changed. You're still going to be a host. You're still going to be one of the 16 teams that host. Maybe you lose your seeding a little bit. Right now LSU's projected to be a 2 seed, right, Reagan?
Yes, they are.
Maybe you lose your seeding and you drop down to a 3 seed if you lose the very first game tomorrow night. But LSU's going to host. That's what matters. Obviously what matters most is the NCAA tournament. Yep. So, but it would be really good for LSU, Reagan, to get back on the winning side of things after losing the last 2 games of the regular season. So, I don't know, Reagan, if has LSU since Kim Mulkey has taken over, have they ever lost 3 in a row? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think LSU has ever lost 3 games in a row under Kim Mulkey.
Maybe we'd have to check first season, but I don't even think then.
Sunday might have been the first time they won 2 that they lost 2 in a row. I don't know. I'd have to go back and check the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Certainly it didn't happen. Certainly it didn't happen in the championship season. I don't know about the first season. And then last season, I don't think I'm pretty positive last season they didn't lose 2 in a row.
No.
So, anyways, that's besides the point. So, I'd be shocked to see LSU lose 3 in a row under Kim Mulkey. Certainly possible, but I expect her to have the girls ready.
Ryan was saying I thought they were Cream. Golly, what's that guy's name?
Harley.
What's
Harley
the
Cream?
No, yes, I know that. That's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the men's one, Lenardi. Isn't that who it is?
Joe Lenardi.
Yeah, he's kind of the bracketology guy, right? For men's. Cream is the one for women's. They have LSU as a 2 seed right now, from what I saw today. So we'll see. I think if they win their first game, they're a lock at a 2 seed. So if you win the first game, lose the second, I think you're a 2 seed. If you lose the first game tomorrow to either Alabama or Florida, I still think you can be a 2 seed, but you may fall to the 3 seed.
Yeah. Ryan said, I just want the girls to win the SEC to raise their seed in the NCAA tournament. Even if you win the SEC championship, I don't know if you can raise your seed.
I don't know if it
to a
will.
1 seed. I really don't think it happens, to be honest with you, Ryan. Carl Dunn says turnovers and bad shot selections have been an issue all season for the women's team. If this team will get past the Sweet 16, they have to fix this issue. Right now, it's looking like Sweet 16 at best. Potentially.
I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with that too. I think they can make a deeper run for sure. I think they're very capable of making it to the Final Four. I think they're very capable. But right now, I'm thinking they probably get ousted in the Elite Eight.
It all depends on a draw too.
All depends on the draw. You could get a really difficult draw.
Good. Sometimes it's bad. You have to wait till Selection Sunday. So
yeah.
All right, guys. We will obviously keep track of the SEC women's tournament, and we'll talk about that on our next show, the results of that. And obviously, by next show, we will know where LSU is seeded and their opponents and all of those things. And so we'll talk about that too. We'll give you our thoughts on LSU's weekend with North Alabama. Looking forward to SEC play next show as well. So we hope to see you all back. Appreciate all you guys, Ryan, Tyler, Carl, all being in here interacting. Dad as well. Appreciate all you guys. Y'all are awesome. We love your feedback. We love your thoughts and comments. Keep coming. Keep giving them. We love it. So appreciate you guys very much and all the support. We'll see you next time here in the Tigers Avenue Show. 5 Star here. Take us out.